the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. Today, I'm joined by John Siaka. You probably know him. He's a fairly prolific writer, contributing editor for Residential Systems. How are you, John?
Doing good, thank you.
I've never had you on one of my podcasts before. I feel almost like very special.
We're right there together, Matt.
I know. It's touching. Then we have...
No, right there together. It's touching. Let's stop
just
this.
Leave it at that.
Stephen, you never make them touch. That's the rule. You never make them touch.
And there goes our rating. Next, we have the gentleman that's talking right there, Stephen Brunner. He's the president of Pro Audio Georgia and one of my good friends. How are you today?
I'm outstanding, sir. I'm having a great day. It's beautiful here in Georgia. We could use a little rainfall, but
did I pronounce Georgia correctly?
You got Georgia right.
I got it right. All right.
That's about right.
And last but certainly not least, we have the one, the only Julie Jacobson. She's a founding editor of CE Pro. How are you, ma'am?
Oh no, Mr. Bill. Are you seeing my Mr. Bill icon there?
I see it. I got it.
Very well. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, thank you for being here. I kind of have like the go-to team with you and John, and then there's Stephen. But let's nice. Let's jump right in. John, you recently wrote a review on Star Trek and the UHD Atmos optimized Blu-ray. This came out about a month ago, I think.
No, it was like a week ago.
Was it a week ago?
Yeah, I think it was November 1st. Actually, it came out.
It feels like a month ago. It's been a long week. Your review is quite glowing. The question I had was, one, give us just a real short overview of your impressions on this. Summarize it for me, and then I got a question for you on it.
Well, I mean, just about every Ultra HD disc that I've seen so far looks terrific. They have different attributes that make them shine or not. Lots of detail in the Star Trek disc. If I had any complaint about it, I think I would say that the high dynamic range was a little bit flatter compared to some of the other UHD movies that I've seen. There wasn't quite as much pop, but colors were terrific and detail was terrific. You could really see all the, fine stitching and things in the uniforms and the little buttons and things on screens in the background. My review was mainly focused on the audio portion, trying to, kind of pick out the 5 best audio demos that if you were going to use that disc as a showroom demo, what would be 5 really great scenes you could tune to?
Well, and as you commented on that, does this disc in general, but does Atmos in general, does it show, in your opinion, better in those subtle moments versus the, fast flying action scenes? Is it the subtle moments when you realize just how impressive Atmos is?
It definitely can be, but that's not really always the best demo. When you have to explain somebody, this is what you want to listen to or for, that's generally not as great of a demo as I'm just going to put this on and have you experience it. But when you've lived with it for a while, it can be those subtle things that turn your room into a whole other listening space that Atmos just does so well. And, like where you'll go from one scene in a really close interior space and you can tell that the ceiling is low and things are close around you and you hear mechanical noises, to the next scene you're outside and you can just tell you're in a much bigger space and there's far off ambience of wind blowing or birds chirping or whatever. That Atmos does that really well, but that doesn't necessarily make for a great wowie demo. But when you're watching it day in and day out, that's definitely one of the things that Atmos does to help immerse you in the experience.
Do we, Stephen, John is obviously mentioning demos and stuff like that. Are these the type of experiences that customers need to have, that we as integrators need to provide to get people to buy into Atmos?
Absolutely. Every single review that John has written on a disc, I've read it. I've taken notes off of it. I've said, okay, these are parts where I should demo this technology. Without showing your clients what they're paying for, you come off as just a salesman. What we're selling is an experience. It's an immersive experience. And if you just say, well, we're going to put these speakers in the ceiling, then the client goes, well, my 5.1 sounds great. Why do I need speakers in the ceiling? Now you're in a whole different discussion. So like John said, you bring them in, you show them, hey, this is the experience that you're looking for. This is how you want to feel when you watch a movie. It's no different than lighting control. If you want it to be a true theater and you can't dim the lights, then you're kind of out of luck. So when we do demos for clients, it is extremely important to sell that experience, to have them come in, say, okay, this is surround sound. Now this is surround with Atmos. John says you shouldn't have to tell them what to listen for. Atmos is one of the few technologies that we have where you actually don't have to point it out to the client. They'll tell you, oh, wow, that sounds great. So, that's always a positive thing.
Very good. Julie, is this something where we have enough source material to where we can properly demo, 4K and Ultra HD and Atmos products, or are we still limited in what's available?
Well, obviously we're limited to what's available, but if your question is, do we have enough source material and demo material to sell these object-oriented experiences, then heck yeah. I mean, you just heard from the two people that know far more than I do in terms of demoing and selling it. I guess the ultimate question is, will customers be disappointed in the short term by a lack of content? But there's enough good stuff out there to show it well.
I would say, Matt, I mean, one of the things because I have an Atmos system in my house, and one of the things that I really notice is what an amazing job it does with non-Atmos encoded content.
Right.
Putting stuff in the right place, putting it overhead, the little sounds. We watched Star Wars The Force Awakens the other night and just really noticed a lot of those little sounds that puts up to the ceiling so smartly. And even TV shows, little mechanical sounds and things, people walking up over. I mean, Dolby calls it an up mixer. The Atmos up mixer does a really amazing job. So, I mean, everything is Atmos, improved by Atmos. And as far as...
Sorry, I think that's an interesting point. I don't know that that's articulated well enough in the press.
Well, get on that, Julie.
Yeah, I was going to say, could you two kind of get together and make that happen? That'd be fantastic.
I don't know that anybody has written more about Atmos than I have, so I'm doing my part. But as far as content goes, also, I think that they're saying we're going to have more than 100 UHD discs by the end of the year. So
yeah, I'd heard that.
There's a ton of content, and the first batch of titles was really awful. But studios are coming around now with releasing some really good stuff, and almost every single week, I mean, new first-run stuff is coming out. It's the kind of stuff that you would actually want to own and want to see. And even if people, I mean, most of the titles have about a $5 premium, but the UHD title comes with a Blu-ray disc, it comes with a digital copy. So you can buy for the future and still be able to enjoy it now. So, I'm always been a big physical media guy. I'm hoping that the disc is able to survive right up until Kaleidoscape gets every single content available on their download store.
That's fantastic. Moving on to an article that comes to us from CE Pro and Jason Knott. He was at the CE Pro Summit that was in Atlanta this past week, and they had a panel with a bunch of integrators as well as Dave Pedigo, who you may know as a guest from our show. He's also the VP of Emerging Tech. We have to plug him every time we mention his name. It's a rule. But they were talking about what technologies are going to be promising and effective for smart home integration in the coming year. Now, they hit the, kind of the mainstays of do it yourself, do it for me, and network related things. But the kind of the big thing that hit was voice control. And and the how it's currently not really designed for a massive home, but it is designed for those smaller homes, and they're working on the interfaces for that. Stephen, before the show, we kind of jumped into this ahead of time. What is this? One, do you see what they're talking about? Is it valid for you? Are the items that they're discussing, are they something that you see in your business? But two, how much is voice control going to take over all of these technologies?
Well, like I said before the show, we're starting to sell the voice control to every single client. The reason why is that, a proper control system laid out great, voice control changes the game completely. Now, instead of coming in and saying, picking up a remote control just to turn on the TV, a lot of people come in and they just want some background noise while they get dinner ready or the kids get their homework started. So you can come in and say, Alexa, turn my TV on. And as your integrator, we can program that to turn the TV on, set it to your favorite channel, whether that be ESPN, TLC, nightly news, whatever you want to hear. So basically, you are taking the technology that your client has paid you for and once again doing your job. Our job is to take all this technology and increase the experience that our clients have. We're out here to make the technology work for our clients, not against our clients. So we're selling it on every project. We're going back to projects we've done in the last year and a half. I'm actually giving Alexas to all of my clients this year that don't already have one for Christmas. We are actually really taking a hold because this is the next step. And what you don't want to do is you don't want your client to walk into somebody else's house and somebody else to go, hey, Bob, look what I can do. And then Bob calls you up and goes, why can't I do that with my system? Do I need to call this other guy? And so we're on that cutting edge. I love it. Alexa integration is incredible. The new Google Home is coming out. You've got Josh UI. So there are a lot of things going on with voice control, but yes, it is viable. Yes, I'm selling it. Yes, my clients are loving it, and it works flawlessly.
What are you integrating it with?
RTI. They were the first one in the industry to have it.
And there we go.
Yeah, RTI. The RTI interface it's so smooth. This year at CEDIA Control 4 came out, and I think Crestron did as well. They weren't at CEDIA, but I think Crestron has it as well. Native integration. So originally with Alexa, you had to say, Alexa, tell Lutron to turn my lights down in the living room. But with native control, you don't have to tell Alexa what to look for. You just tell her what you want it to do. So with RTI back in July, June, I think it was actually, they rolled out the Alexa integration where it's actually native in the system. Alexa sees your RTI processor as a device on the system, reads the macros, and follows those as voice commands.
But you still have to say, sorry for usurping the interview, but I'm curious. I could listen to these two all day. But do you still have to say, like, turn on good night? I mean, can you specifically say, turn the TV on to CNN?
There are keywords. So yes, you can say turn the TV on to CNN. You absolutely can. So you set up basically you tell the system what you want it to listen for. So the system is listening for it. So instead of saying, Alexa, what is the weather today? Alexa would be listening for you to say, Alexa, turn my TV on. Now you can make another command that says, Alexa, TV CNN. And then Alexa would turn the TV on to CNN. So it listens to whatever your macro is. There are keywords that it keys off of, but your macro can say whatever you want it to say. It's going to key off of that first word.
Now, obviously, the native side of it makes it more effective for the end user because they don't know how the entire system works. They're not going to come in and say, hey, Alexa, tell my Lutron processor to turn this keypad to this, right? But how much, John, as we're looking at continuing to advance the integration of voice control, how much of it comes down to the integrator knowing their end user versus the integrator training the end user how to, say these types of commands in verbiage that makes sense to them, but that is easy for the control processor to understand.
Well, I think that's really huge. I mean, it like Stephen was saying, it will respond to what you say. If you are off by one word, that it's not going to work. And I have Alexa in my house, and half the time I'll say turn on the living room lights, but it won't do it because we name them family room lights in programming. So
you're just a bad programmer.
I'm a bad talker. And so, we just finished a big pre-wire, and the customer had these high hopes of using entirely voice control for himself and all of his guests and all of his renters. And I'm like, whoa, we got to temper that back to, this is what it's going to do. I mean, I think ultimately we'll get there, and I think it will get to where it can even be like location based, where if I'm in the living room and I say turn the TV on, it will know that I'm in the living room TV. And if I'm in the bedroom, it will know when I say turn the TV on, it will know the bedroom TV. But right now you have to be very specific in, Alexa, turn on family room TV, or whatever. I've had it, we have a Control4 system in our home, and I've had it since a couple weeks before CEDIA, and have had a chance to play with it quite a bit. And I find that I'm constantly thinking of new things I'd like it to do, but almost on a daily basis. We have a dinner time scene that drops the lights, drops the shades, and puts on music that we like to have at dinner. And I have a movie time scene, again, drops the lights, drops the shades, turns on my projector, drops the screen, turns on the kaleidoscope, all while you're walking in from the kitchen. In our showroom recently, we just installed kind of an Alexa experience center, and I put a little plaque sitting up by where we want to have people would say, tell Alexa the following things. And so it's a much more successful demo because they're not wondering what to see and what to ask. They have scripted things to say. And I think that that's kind of how it will be for a little while, is the integrator will ask people, what would you like to have it do, and how would you like to make this happen? One of the things that I'm running up against is with music. If you just tell Alexa to play a certain music, it wants to play it from its internal speaker. So like making it play music through a house-wide audio system, you have to find the right way to say it where it's not trying to play it out of its built-in speaker. But I think
that's what they're working on now with Sonos, is to try to get that integration more seamless for audio.
And it's just minor growing pains right now. But I mean, the voice is going to be huge. And one of the reasons why it's going to be so huge is you now have a device that will do it for $50. So like Stephen was saying, you give it to every one of your customers, give them 3, 4 of them. And once they get a taste of it with like 1 light, 2 lights, they're going to want to be able to do everything. And that's where it's going to be such a win for us.
Yeah, if you don't, one of the things that I found is sometimes you can't just go to your client and say, hey, I would love for you to have this feature. Clients love the fact when you actually participate in their system. When you say, hey, I'm going to give you this Alexa, and if you like it, I'd love to program it with your system. So if you've got a client that's spent, $50, $60, $100,000 with you, what is it to throw in one Alexa and some voice control, just some simple voice control, and then later if they want to add more features, they can come back. But to do that for your clients, now you're actively involved in their advancement in technology. So the next time something comes out and you want to recommend it, now you're the expert. So that I say this all the time, and it's really critical, and I preach it to people that go through my mentoring program, and I preach it to everyone. You have to be the expert. You have to. And if you can do that, if you can be the guy who knows everything that's going on, you can be the guy who's involved, or the guy who knows where to look if he doesn't have the answer. That's what you want to be to your clients. And so the voice control is just the next, it's not only just a new thing we do. I mean, it's really, in my opinion, the voice control is the next greatest leap in the technology in our field.
Very good. Now, Julie, not moving on, but in addition to voice control, you just recently wrote an article on the 28th about Google Home and how they're bringing their own version of this to the home, and arguably going after the Echo. How much is their ecosystem going to run up against Alexa versus how much will it, or how quickly will it surpass Alexa due to the products they already have available?
Well, I think it's definitely going to be some great competition. First of all, when I back on the voice control in general, when I talk to dealers, the ones that are negative about voice control don't have an Echo at home. I mean, that's the reality of it. I'll do a presentation, ask dealers how many of them are bullish on voice control, and they raise their hands, and I say, how many of you are the ones that don't like voice control? I said, how many of you don't have an Echo? I mean, they simply don't have it at home. I don't listen to music much. I never have, because I don't care about it all that much. But having a Echo now, just in passing, maybe I want to just listen to NPR, those 10 minutes a week I do dishes. It's just in and out, Alexa, play NPR, and it's great. But oh great, my Alexa just lit up, so it's going to start talking to me in a second. Google Home, it's interesting. The ecosystem that's being wrapped around it is pretty expansive, and you start just at the very basics with many years of analytics from Google search engines, and they've got the analytics to really make voice control work no matter how you talk to a machine. And you can perform different queries, and you can have multiple layers of a conversation. Turn on the lights. Which lights? The kitchen lights. Okay. So you can actually have a conversation to get exactly what you want. So even with that alone, I think Google has the edge. But now that they have a router, the on-hub router with the technology built in, soon they'll come out with their Google Wi-Fi, which is a mesh networking solution like Eero, and of course the whole Nest portfolio of smart devices. And you add all that together, and it is a pretty compelling ecosystem. I don't know that anyone in the near future can really match that.
Now, what I think will be interesting will be when they include the ability to connect with their WebOS systems that's pre-built into many of the smart TVs. Because right now that seems to be the one sticking point is if I'm talking to Google Cast, I'm saying, hey, turn my TV to CNN or something, it needs to find a way to do that. But it's interesting to see where it's going. John, do you guys anticipate testing this and playing with this soon, or are you going to tie yourself to the Amazon Echo?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, to us, the Amazon is a really cost-effective portal to the automation systems that we're selling. Not so much as Lifestyle Butler, so I'm not sure. For us right now, Amazon is doing everything that we want it to do. I guess I'd have to just see how it becomes, what plays out. Ideally, it would be that they would both work as just a microphone to get you into whatever, bigger interface that you had. Julie said that a lot of integrators weren't interested in it. And I would say that was totally where I stood on the fence until they started playing with these bigger automation companies. I had no interest in listening to music through Alexa. I've got a way better home audio system. I had no interest in controlling Hue light bulbs. I have a Lutron light system. So once it started playing with real world automation stuff, then it became interesting to me. I mean, I wasn't looking for a $200 toy, but a $200 thing that could do a lot of interfacing with this other stuff that I own and that I'm installing. That makes it way more interesting.
The interesting thing about Google Home is it appears that it's much more integration friendly natively than Amazon Alexa is. We have one already, a Control 4 driver. Their IFT engine is really robust, so you can communicate natively with third-party control systems like you can't currently do with Echo. For example, turn motorized shades or open motorized shades to 60%, which you wouldn't have to program into a system. It just grabs the keywords from your control system and implements the action. So you don't have to launch a macro to get motorized shades to 50%. It just does.
Now, just to poll the panel, how many of you are intrigued versus excited for a potential push by Apple into this with their HomeKit?
Don't care. Could not possibly care less. Here's the thing. Alexa and Google are cross-platform. The last thing I want is Apple having control over another part of my home, because they don't play well with others. They don't care about other people. One of their actual head of North American training is one of my clients, and even she'll tell you. I asked her what they thought about the Google Home piece, and she said they don't care. Like they literally don't consider anyone else competition, and they don't consider anyone when they design a product, and they're not ashamed about it. So if Alexa works with Apple and the Google Home product will work with Apple, the last thing I'm going to do, because every time Apple puts out an iOS update, it breaks our control system. We have to go in and make modifications. So now we have to
Sounds
worry
like
about
AT&T.
that. Yeah, exactly. Don't get, oh Lord. So what I want a company like, and this is where I differ a little bit. Google is awesome, but I like the fact that Amazon has to integrate. They have to listen to their clients because they don't have the backing that Google does. So if Google decided, you know what, we're going to do this our way, we really don't care what you think, they could do it just like Apple does. But if Amazon did that, then they risk losing their market share. So I could not, and it's not anti-Apple. Listen, I make a lot of money off of Apple products, a lot of money. So I'm not anti-Apple, but what I am saying is the way we use the products and the way we integrate the products, the last thing I want to do is take a chance of my client. Now their iPhone is not working right with the system for a couple of weeks till we can reset the processor. Now their voice control is down. Now everything's down. You know, that's not what I'm interested in.
John?
At the risk of following that. Well, what's interesting about Apple is I know, gosh, maybe it was a year ago, I contacted Control4 and Crestron and asked them the usage differences between iOS and Android on their, on their control apps. And both of them were like 90% iOS.
iOS, yeah.
And so the majority of our customers, the people that are using these things, are using iOS devices. So I think that anytime you can throw a broader net, it's potential to bring in more business. So I'm certainly pro that. Obviously, if it comes with the headaches of something breaking all the time, that's not as good. You would hope that they could come out with something that would have the reliability and the robustness of the Amazon or the Google Home. I have an iPhone. I mean, it would be great if I could pull that out of my pocket and control my whole house with Siri if I wasn't near an Echo speaker. Though at $50 that becomes less of an issue. So my only thing would be, such a high percentage of people seem to be using iOS devices that also want our integration systems. That could only be a good thing, I think, in a lot of ways, if they would come and decide to play nice.
Well, and there's the magic word. That is what gets me every time. Is I would love for Apple to do it. I would. I think it's great. And you're right. I mean, very few of my clients are using the Google devices. I think Pixel may change that, but that's my opinion. However, Apple doesn't play well with others. Apple is the Bose of cell phones. It works great on its own in its own ecosystem, but as soon as you try to stretch it out to another system, it just doesn't play well. If they would play well with others, I would eat it up. And so I think that you hit on it. You hit the nail right on the head.
So just to clarify, you're saying the iPhone doesn't have any bass?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Or treble, really
the
good.
non-audio person among us was a little delayed response there.
Julie, I'll give you the last word on that.
Oh, all I can do
Let's make predictions.
with regard to that is, that's what dealers said about Sonos. Doesn't play nice with others. I'll never use it. I'll never fly. And look where Sonos is today.
Very good. And I like that dead-on impression of Steven. That was perfect.
I agree.
All
I
right.
agree 100%. I'm one of those that said I won't use Sonos, and the total honest truth is I don't. I sell MusicCast or Hios because it integrates. Everything in my systems has to integrate. My thermostats, my irrigation control, everything integrates. So I'm not a Sonos guy. Some of my clients have it standalone, but you're right, Julie, you nailed it. And I'm one of those guys. So because I do integration exclusively, I sell MusicCast and Hios. So, but you couldn't have done anything more to basically call out my opinion than you did. Just do it. That is, I'm that guy.
Well, my point was, I would have had a much better case if you would have said, yeah, you're right. I use Sonos all the time. So, and I only wish John would have made your comment so I could have said, John, you ignorant slut. But,
Julie, we've been a Sonos Gold dealer for years, so I'm on board.
there you go.
Well, on that note, thank you guys for being here. John, where can people connect with you?
Probably the easiest would be on Twitter, at my last name tweets. So at Siaka tweets is probably the easiest.
Very good. Steven, thanks for being here again. Where can people find you? Send you hate mail.
What's that?
And send you hate mail.
Send me hate mail.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So you can find me at ProAudio_GA on Twitter. ProAudioGeorgia.com is the website. I'm all over the place. So I'm pretty much anywhere you look. If you type in Pro Audio or Pro Audio GA, you probably find me there.
Beautiful. And Julie, last but not least, where can people find you?
Well, you can send hate mail to Siaka Tweets.
Yep.
I forward it on to Julie every one.
You can send all your flattering messages to @JulieJacobson on Twitter with an SON. You can find us on CEPro.com. And I just got to say, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think I could just listen to the dealers all day long. So thanks for that enlightenment.
Oh, thank you for being here. We appreciate having you here. Even John? Mm-hmm. That's so kind of you to make an exception for him.
Like an asterisk at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Asterisk and John.
Julie, you should just feel privileged that John remembers who you are every year. I'm just saying.
It's fantastic. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. For myself, if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and every other social platform for the most part. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv. You'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows that cover all the other verticals that we cover in this lovely AV industry that we're all a part of. When you visit the site, please make sure you stop by and check out our underwriters. We're extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out and support them as well. Thank you for watching and for joining us on this episode of ResiWeek.